Okay, so I apologize that I'm not here again today. My son is sick. So we're going to do multiplying complex numbers today. Again, if you're not understanding what you're doing, you need to make sure you go and watch the videos on TeacherWeb for a second or third time. They are all there, so just go to my TeacherWeb. You click on the interactive calendar, and then click on the day that you need. I have the notes there, I have the homework, and I have the video lessons. Okay, so for multiplying complex numbers, first thing you always want to look for, if there's a negative under the radical, we're going to take out the I first. Okay, so that's only going to affect ones that start with a radical like this. Okay, we're going to multiply. If there's a radical, we're just going to use radical rules like we did in the last chapter. And then simplify your answer. And remember, there should be no I squareds in your answer because I squared equals -1 and I equals the square root of -1. So if you have an I squared, you should be changing it to a -1. So on the first one, let's go ahead and multiply. So you're just multiplying the numbers. So 2 times 6 is 12. And then we have I times I is I squared. I squared is equal to -1. So our answer would be -12. Number 2, so this is the kind you have to look out for. If you see a radical, you have to pull out the I first. So this is I square root 50 times I square root 6. Okay, it gives you a different answer if you don't pull the I out. It gives you an incorrect answer. Okay, so then let's multiply. So I have I times I is I squared. And then if I do 50 times 6, I get square root of 300. So if I simplify that, I squared is -1. Well, we'll simplify that at the end. Let's go ahead and break down 300. So 3 times 100, 10 times 10. So I have a pair of 10s. So on the outside, I have a 10. And then I have this I squared, which changes to a -1. So I have a -10. And then inside the radical is just a 3. So -10 square root of 3. Okay, number 3, we have radicals. So pull out the I first. So we're going to pull out the I. So in this case, when I pull out the I have 2 I's. So I have I squared times square root of 25 times, when I pull out this I, which is going to be 2I square root of 3. So if we simplify that, this becomes -1 square root of 25 is just 5 times 2I square root of 3. So if we multiply, we have -5 times 2 is -10 I square root of 3. So just take it nice and slow, do one part at a time. Okay, number 4. Again, pull out the I first. So I'm going to pull this out. So this becomes 2 plus I square root 3. And this one becomes 2 minus I square root 3. Now we talked about conjugates at the very end of the last unit. Conjugates are when you have the exact same thing, but you have a plus and you have a minus. Okay, so when you have conjugates, you can do the simple step, just multiply the first 2, multiply the last 2. So 2 times 2 is 4. And then when I multiply the second part, I have I times -I. So -I squared times 3. Remember, square root of 3 times square root of 3 is square root of 9, which is then just 3. Okay, so let's simplify this a little bit. This becomes 4 minus I squared is a -1 times the 3. So that becomes 4 minus a -3. And we have 2 negatives, so that becomes positive. So 4 plus 3 is 7. Now you can only do this shortcut on conjugates. So these are conjugates, so it works for that. Okay, number 5. Now this one's not conjugate, so we're just going to multiply like normal. 7 times 4, 28. 7 times 3i, positive 21i. we have negative 2i times 4 is negative 8i. And negative 2i times 3i is going to be negative 6i squared. So if you're multiplying two i's together, make sure you write I squared. Okay, so let's combine like terms. 28, we have 21 minus 8. So positive 13i minus 6, and I squared is equal to negative 1. So now I have 28 plus 13i plus 6 equals, I can combine like terms. 28 plus 6 is 34 plus 13i. Okay, number 6. Do not make the mistake of just putting this 2 with both of these pieces. You need to write this out, 3 plus 2i, and it's the exact same thing, 3 plus 2i. So I'm going to ask the sub to pause the video right now, and I want you to work this one out, and then come back and check your answer. Okay, so when you've done this, you should have 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 2i is positive 6i. 2i times 3 is positive 6i. And 2i times 2i is positive 4i squared. So that becomes 9 plus 12i plus 4 times negative 1. So 9 plus 12i minus 4, combine like terms. You should have gotten 5 plus 12i. Oopsies, sorry about that. Okay, again, I'm going to ask the sub to pause the video here, and I want you to do 7 and 8. Take about 5 minutes, and then come back, and the sub can press play, and you can check your answers. So number 7, make sure you take out the I first. So this one becomes 3i squared, square root 2. Oops, I squared. Take out the negative, so this one becomes 5i square root 6. So multiply outside, so actually let's simplify that I squared. That becomes 3 times negative 1 square root 2. So that's negative 3 square root 2 times 5i square root 6. So multiply the outsides, we get negative 15i square root 12. Then you should have simplified the 12 to 3 and 4, and 2 and 2. Sorry, ran out of space. So pull out a 2 and multiply. So negative 30i square root of 3. Number 8 is conjugates, so the shortcut is 5 times 5 is 25. Negative I times I is negative I squared. So be careful here. I squared is negative 1, so that becomes 25 plus 1, which is 26. And that's it. So I want you to try your homework. And hopefully I will be back tomorrow.